Okay, I'm just restarting the video. I just want to kind of give an update. I haven't been on my channel in, it's been a long time, but I've been going through a lot of delivering, a lot of prayer and fasting, and I just want to share some of my insight. This is a personal, so like I always say, eat the meat, sit out the bones. This is, my walk, my testimony. I'm not saying this is for everybody. This is the way God deals with me, and that's one thing I want people to understand, that your relationship with Christ, your walk with God is personal. There are some things, not everything, there are some things that God will deal with you in a particular way because He understands how you were raised. He understands your mindset. He understands, your upbringing, the way you see things, things that have happened that have been negative, how they affect your perception, all of that. So I'm just giving it, and I always look at it the way God has kind of been explaining things to me. Just think of a rainbow on the spectrum. There are different colors. The way, even with infrared, the way certain light hit things. There's a certain you want to see things in a particular way, different ways. White light, comprises all colors. So it's just to give you an understanding that more than one thing can be true at a time. But just to get into what I've been going through. So I just got to a place where the warfare was unbearable. It was a place of even feeling like I don't know if I want to be here anymore. I just got tired of fighting. And I felt it honestly. I felt like I tried it God's way, and I was when I was under a ministry, I was under the pastors. I was really like they kind of like their armor bearer, and they I lived with them for a short time, and they did me so dirty. And the husband really was a good guy. I just felt like he was complicit. The pastor, his wife was the pastor, but he was kind of like a pastor as well. He was just complicit in a lot of things that she did, to damage my reputation, to physically do things to me, to prevent me financially, like she wouldn't return my tax returns to me when I lived with them shortly for 2 months, which they told me, God told them that I needed to live with them. Me and my daughter at the time, my oldest daughter, before I had my, baby girl. And it was a disaster. And, I think some of the ways I feel about ministry is because I was a person that was a lot of times like close to the pastor, not intentionally, because I never wanted that. I just would be the one that would be helping all the time. So I end up kind of getting close with the leadership. And some of the stuff I saw and the things that went on, it just really turned me off. I'm just being honest. And I hate when people just, think church hurt. You gotta understand, it's not just church hurt. It's the fact that people will use your pureness of wanting to serve God, in such a manipulative way. It's more than just telling people you need to get over it. Church hurt, everybody being hurt. There is something very sinister about a person taking your pureness of wanting to serve God and manipulating that. And it's a lot of occultish stuff, that I see. This is just what I believe God he revealed to me. Our world, we're talking about the God of this world, the little G. The Lord explained to me that it is ran by witchcraft. Y'all gotta understand that this system, this world system, the way that they do things, it is witchcraft. It is definite. You get in the news and they'll tell you a lie, or they want you to perceive things in a certain way and they know it's not true. The injustice that they allow, the people in power that do wicked things, that is spiritual wickedness in high places. It is witchcraft. It even says about the Antichrist that he shall cause craft to prosper. What do you think craft is? There's a ancient word we is similar to the word strategy. It's called stratagem. G-E is Stratagem. I believe that's how you spell it. Stratagem is like the wiles of the devil, the things that the crafty, strategic, wicked strategy that he uses to get people to believe a lie. It's not simple as we want to make it seem. And so I just say that to understand that, it's not just people being church hurt, it's understanding that if you ever watched the movie, if you ever seen the Green Mile, that's one of my favorite movies. And it's the big guy. It's John Coffey. He's the one that God sent. And then it's the one who killed he in the movie, he killed these little girls. He ended up being, he murdered these two little girls. He said in the movie, I'll never forget it. He said they killed them with their love for one another. So when one sister would scream, if he did something to one, he told both of them not to scream. So what he'll do, And he said, if you scream, I'm gonna do something to you. If you, he tell the other, he told the twin sister, other sister, if you scream, I'm gonna do something to you. So of course, when he did something to one sister, the other sister screamed. So he ended up using their love for each other and the fear of them being hurt to kill them. And so when he explained that, they killed them with their love for one another, and how people can use your good, try to use your goodness against you. And it's diabolical to me. So just to give you some kind of understanding of, and it's not an excuse because I still have to answer to God for, the decisions that I made. But there was a time where I felt like, I'm done. I put my whole best effort to serve you purely and do it from the heart and do it as unto you. And, I just got to a place where I was like, man, I don't have time for dealing with no church. But the warfare didn't stop. I tried to run. I tried to just be like, you know what? Not necessarily run from God because I always believed in God, but just kind of like, I don't got time for that nonsense. Like the institution, and I still am not too keen on the institution, but I do want to do what God called me to do. But the institution of the church, it's a system, and it's a demonic system. A lot of them pastors be Masons and be in the fraternities that knowing that at the top it's not of God, and they still gonna defend it because it's a system. That's how they've been able to get to the level that they at. And I'm not saying every pastor believe that or know that, but I'm just saying it's a hierarchy in occultism. That's the way that it works. The top of the pyramid, and the eye, all seeing eye. We can go into that, but it's definitely the way that this world system is set up. And they make it, if you don't, you see that whenever people get out of line or don't agree with the system, they just set them people up. They make up lies. They say it's tax evasion, or if they come up missing, or like a lot of naturopathic doctors, they end up being killed, and they giving misinformation about when it came to COVID, and just the 19, just all of that, it's a missing, it's a that's what craft is. It's a misinformation. It's a swaying you with things that you don't know if it's true or not, because they blood, they mix the truth with a lie, and in that system, they have to tell you what they're going to do before they do it. But they know most people aren't going to believe that because they've been indoctrinated not to trust their own judgment, not to critically think about anything. I'm getting off on a tangent, but just to give you me, okay, God, say God, I don't know what to do to get rid of this or what I have to do. But it got to the point where the attack was so strong. It was to the point where I was feeling like I don't know if I want to be here another day. And so I decided to do a fast where I reached out to an African pastor that, deals with deliverance, and he was explaining to me about altars. And I know a lot of people may not understand that, but he was saying how, Elijah made the altar to the true and living God, and versus the altars of Baal, and why, kings would always go and destroy those demonic altars. And you have to do that in the spirit. Even now, you have to destroy those demonic altars that have been erected through bloodline, through your family. And, I kept, praying and fasting and asking God, okay, if somebody is really doing, witchcraft, God, reveal it to me. He showed me a family member's face. And I said, okay, God, I feel like, okay, that's not enough confirmation. Now, this is me. I'm not saying that you shouldn't just believe God, but I just wanted to be sure because, that's a heavy thing. So, and it was household. Come to find, it's a family member that I had. I could see how it could be them, but I still didn't want to believe that they would do something like that. So I asked God for more confirmation. He showed me they took my name on a piece of paper. I saw my name on a piece of paper. They took it to somebody. So I know who it is, and I just been praying that God break it. I've been praying that God protect me. And there's a lot of freak accidents I've had. There's been so many times. I know now. I wasn't crazy. God was, really, gave me confirmation that no, this is real. They've been doing it for a long time. And now that I know who it is for sure, God gave me at least 4 confirmations of the same person. I'm like, okay, I'm praying and fasting. So I feel like you do have to get in out of your life. So I'm like, okay, God, I was drinking. I was in a relationship where I wasn't married. And the enemy was able to use that person. As a matter of fact, I realized they were sent on assignment, and I feel like God is fighting for me at this point. But it was a lot of hell, and going through traumatic things can changed the way you look at things. I feel like I've been praying about it because I feel like it has changed me as a person. Being physically abused, being mentally abused, it does something to you. And I had a lot of trauma as a, even being molested as a child, and I didn't understand why I had low self-esteem. Because I was very young at the time of the first molestation. So now I understand that it was like as a result of somebody trying to take my purity, and I didn't know that. But the enemy tries to do, he tries to do exchanges. That's when people say destiny swapping. It has a lot to do with. That's why these crazy people that we got, a lot of these people in the cabal and the governments of these world. That's why they do that, taking the innocence of young people, because they're trying to do a destiny swap work. They know they can't fully do it. What they do is they're taking. They're continue to gain power by taking the innocence of the people that they're, robbing of or raping or whatever they're doing to them. I shouldn't say rape, rape on this platform, but whatever the things that they're doing to them. So it has something to do with that in the spiritual aspect. I didn't know, I'm just, unfortunately, I'm just still learning, and I'm okay with that because God gave me a greater understanding. So what I did was I went to an African pastor. I ended up going to his church. It was a good church. He wanted me to join. I just didn't feel like it was for me to join that church, but I learned from him. We had a meeting, and he was explaining to me that a lot of the spiritual things that I'm dealing with is because of ancestry, and that he said, even though you don't know a lot of your history, from your African ancestors, it's apparent that you're dealing with this. He was like, you need to renounce it. And he instructed me to do a 3-day dry fast, which I did, almost a 4-day dry fast. But he explained to me, he said, exact retaliation. He said, exact that, you have to make this a lifestyle, the prayer and fasting. And I'm not going to say I always fasted a lot. I would pray some, but during this last battle that I had, it was hard to pray. I would still pray, but it was like all I could really ask God to do a lot of times was to help me. And the spiritual attack, I do feel like things attached to me being in a, being in fornication, and I was like, okay, God, I'm at my wit's end. So I did a fast, and I promise you, maybe, I don't know, a couple days later, the engine went out of my car, and I reached out to the pastor and said, I told you, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you're trying to, you'll be able to tell, that so I realized that, okay, this is gonna be a fight, and it's in a fight, like so but by doing the fast, I was able to break the drinking. I was able to break it cold turkey without going through a program or anything like that. But I feel like now my nervous system, I've working with my therapist and stuff, and PTSD, that's a real thing, and I've been praying and fasting about that as well, and I'm going to continue on, but I had to I had to really get back to that place, and God was explaining to me, like, that's your covering, that you being sanctified, to close those open doors, to stay out of sexual sin, and asking God, to break those out, because it's definitely still there. And people think when it comes to people who are abusive, or if there's such thing as Stockholm syndrome, it's not as easy as you think to. They said you should take 7 times for a person to really leave. Women leave, to really leave an abusive person, and I had to do that. I had to get to a place where I could be like, okay, so God was explaining to me that He allowed me, to lose my place because He wanted me to be in a different place, that this place of safety that He's putting me, at right now. And it was a humbling experience because I felt like I worked hard to get myself together in a certain way, even though that became where the enemy was able to attack me. But I'm just I'm just willing to humble myself, and just admit to what God is going to do in this season, and me just admitting my way back to Him, and just wanting people to understand that it's not a game. Like, the enemy is very, very crafty, and it's not for us to be afraid of him, but it's for us to be aware and sober minded. And I named my name that because I did struggle with alcohol, and I also wanted to make sure that I was hearing God more clear, and that's something that I'm working on. And I feel like God was explaining to me that people don't understand, even though yes, we fall, but we got to get back up. We can't operate in this, because that's where Jezebel come in. When you start thinking that you can just live any kind of way and still be preaching and teaching and doing all that stuff, it's like you're deceiving yourself. And the level of sanctification does matter. because it's your virtue, it's your protection. You're staying in the place God wants you to stay in, where the enemy can't do nothing to you. He can try, he's still going to form the weapon, but it won't prosper. But it can prosper if you don't stay in your place, the place that God wants you to walk in and to stand in. And I know people probably know this, but for me, I'm still battling. There's still things that are, I'm still trying to work through, because just, trying to get back to what my identity is, right? After allowing people to trample over me, and, allowing certain things to happen, and just a way, the enemy, the mind battle, the things that he's, the arrows that he's in, the fiery darts that he's in. And I'm just, just thankful to God that I made it through that, because I really felt like, boy, look here. But God is a good God. God reminded me, and I put it on my Facebook channel when I was about 4 years old. I didn't go into detail like that on my Facebook, but one of my cousins, consider him an uncle because he helped to raise me. Well, I did consider him an uncle, but he was high, and off drugs or whatever, and he was playing with a pistol, and the pistol went off, and I heard a voice tell me to lean back. And when I leaned back, that's the bullet missed my face. It almost still hit me. It was so close to my nose, I felt the heat of the bullet, and it went in slow motion and allowed me to lean back. It went into the wall, and God reminded me of, He been with me. He been with me. He's been with me. Even when I didn't deserve it. I was a child at the time, but just saying that He been with me my whole life. And that, God gave me the word fortitude, and I'm a living witness that I'm trying to walk that thing out. Not giving up, keeping up the same, been difficult, but I give Him the glory and the honor and the praise. I'll talk to y'all later.